Hey y'all, welcome back to Trendy DIY 29, back with another video. This is going to be a video that I believe will help some people relieve a little bit of stress during this time. It takes a little bit of time, but it is so rewarding in the end. And like a lot of us, we have a lot of extra time on our hands. So today we're going to be making homemade honey butter bread. It's a very easy recipe. And it's very, very rewarding when it's done. So what you're going to need is you're going to need 7 cups of flour. I'm using King Arthur flour. You can use any type of flour. I prefer to use bread flour, but I have not really seen that big of a difference with all-purpose flour. So if that's all you have, you can use that. So you're going to need 7 cups of bread flour or regular flour if that's all you have. You're going to need 3 cups of water. You're going to need 2 tablespoons of yeast. I'm using Fleshman's instant yeast, and you can find this at your local grocery store. And you're going to need about two packs of this. Okay, and this recipe is making 2 loaves. So if you only want to make 1 loaf of bread, then cut this recipe in half. You're going to need 3 tablespoons of salt for flavor. You're going to need 2 tablespoons of oil. I'm using grapeseed oil. Grapeseed oil is a very good oil. It's very healthy. I'm trying to use the healthiest things to cook with now during this time to help with building up immune systems. So I chose to use organic grapeseed oil. If you don't have grapeseed oil, you can use vegetable oil. You can use olive oil, whatever type of oil that you have. And then we're going to also need a large bowl, cutting board, some type of scraper. I don't have a scraper, so I use my knife cover. It really works well as a scraper. So if you have a knife cover, you can use that. Or like a thick piece of plastic or something. Just something that you can scrape the dough on the board with. And let's begin. So the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to add our water. So right here I'm adding 3 cups of water. Use warm water. Don't use cold. I'm going to add in my 2 packets of yeast. And what we're going to do is, with this yeast, we're going to mix this up, and you want to let your yeast dissolve. So I'm going to mix this up. Let me get my little spatula. And we're going to mix up our yeast. And as you can see, it should look something like this, guys. Not the cutest thing, but we're going to mix this up. And you want to just mix it until you feel as though your yeast is dissolved as much as you can get it. Because you will have probably like a little bit of yeast floating in there. But you want to get it as dissolved as possible. So I'm just going to stir this. The sleeves keep falling down. I'm stirring this. I just want to get it nice and stirred up. Just make sure you're scraping the sides because the yeast likes to stick to the sides. So make sure you scrape the sides. Now you can really tweak this to your taste. You don't have to do honey butter. I wanted a little bit of sweetness in my bread. If you want, you can leave out the honey butter glaze that I'm going to be making. If you want it, you could probably add some cinnamon. You could add raisins if you want to do like some cinnamon raisins. This is a very versatile recipe. And I like to just use my spatula to like flatten some of the chunks out. Get this nice and mixed up. And I'm going to go as far as to... I got this little whisk right here. I'm just going to use this whisk just to try to break up any of the smaller pieces. If you don't have a whisk, don't worry about it. Bread is somewhat forgiving as long as you stick to the recipe. But, you know, it's really hard to really mess up bread. The worst that could happen is that it won't be as fluffy, but it'll still taste good. So... my yeast, I believe, is dissolved. It takes a few minutes. But you want to activate that in there. And using rapid, fast acting yeast. Like I said, you can really use any yeast that you want. Okay, so now I'm going to add my flour. You're going to add 7 cups of flour. Right here I have 6. This is 6 cups of bread flour that I'm going to add in. And then I have another cup of bread flour. So this is my 7 cups of flour. And we're just going to mix this in. And while we're mixing, add in your salt for flavor. You're going to add in your oil. And you're going to give this a good mix. You should have like this type of consistency. It should not be too wet. Don't panic. Just fold everything in nice together. Now, if you have kids, this will be a good family activity to do because everyone can help. And you just want to mix this all up. And I'm just trying to incorporate everything good. Make sure I'm scraping the sides. And I'm just going to get in there with my hands. And we're just going to get this incorporated good. And I'm just mixing. You want to form a nice dough ball. And I'm going to take this out of my bowl like you see. And I'm just going to place this on my cutting board. And it'll be like a somewhat sticky, dry mixture. A little bit drier than Play-Doh. You just want to knead it. And what you're going to do is you want to knead it for 8 minutes. So right now it is 9 o'clock. So I'm going to knead this till 9:08. And you just want to knead it. Mix everything in together. It's a workout. Now this is the part, if you have kids, you can get them to do this because they'll love it because it's like playing in Play-Doh. And you just want to do this for 8 minutes straight. I like to try to do it with one hand for a little while and then let me move this out you guys' way. And I like to try to do it with one hand, and so that when this hand gets tired I can do it with another hand. But you just want to really knead it. It will be sticky. It's okay, that's normal. Do not add any more water. You don't need to do any of that. You just want to really work it in. Knead this good. You can see it's like I'm really putting my all into this. Because you want to get this bread nice and kneaded. You don't want any dry patches. And eventually you'll get a good doughy consistency. You use your fist, roll it, and put your fist in it. But I will also say, if you get your kids to do this, you still want to go behind them and do it because they're probably not going to, knead it as much as it's going to need. They're going to be doing more playing with it. So, I'm just going to continue to knead this. Ooh. As you can tell, I need to get something to make my cutting board not slide, like one of those no slide mats, but it's sliding if you guys are wondering what that noise was. Slid into my little pretty flower arrangement right here I made the other day. I have a new video that should be coming out either the same day that I dropped this one or the following day, and it's going to be on making a spring wreath, very low cost spring wreath. And I'll tell you where to get the materials at because I know a lot of places are closed right now. So I found a few places that you can still get some crafty stuff at. So And this is like really like stress relieving, like I said, because you're just really working in this bread. Now, if you have like one of those machines that can knead bread, you are in luck. I want to say, I believe some KitchenAid mixers have a bread blade. But if you're like me, I like to use my hands. As you can tell, it's really not sticking that bad. I don't even know if I might have to really use my scraper. But you just want to knead this. But it's going to be on making a spring wreath, like I was saying, for your door. And just showing you some easy DIY decorations that you can make for your home, because a lot of us have not been anywhere this spring, which is kind of depressing. So why not bring spring into your home? You know, I started a garden. I know you guys, I mentioned it, I think, in one video, but if I haven't, I started a garden video, and I'm just kneading this. Now, you want to really get this nice and good. Don't slack with it. Oop. You see it keeps sliding. Now, if you were making like a cinnamon raisin or something, this would be the stage when I would say start adding in like your cinnamon, your sugars and stuff like that. And then when you get close to the 8 minutes almost being over, that's when I would probably try to roll in and add in my berries. Because I wouldn't want them to be too crushed, unless you don't mind the berries. You want them to be like really crushed up in there, then I would add the berries earlier. But this dough is very versatile. I've been told that this can even be used to make like good calzones, you know, that you can stuff with cheese and pepperonis and sauce. I have not done that yet. I'm going to try it. And if it comes out right, I will do a video on making calzones. And I'm just, like you see, kneading this. And as you can tell, it's like way better looking, guys, now. You see, it's not as, what do you want to call it? Like dry. But it's nowhere near that sticky. And it's starting to become a little bit more fluffy. So I got about 3 more minutes to knead this. And what I'm doing is I like to like roll it and like fold it to make sure that I'm really getting, you know, this bread really mixed up. Try to stay away from kneading it completely only in one direction, because you might not get throughout the whole bread. So, and I'm just rolling it, squeezing it and rolling it. And I'm just going and going. Okay. And a lot of work. But if you plan on doing this a lot, you can really make a lot of this dough in advance. You know, I'm not sure how long that it lasts if you make it in advance, because I've never, like, this bread and stuff is so good. I've never like said, oh, let me make this delicious bread dough and don't bake it. So I don't know how long it lasts, but I want to say based on the ingredients, it should last, you know, at least a few days in the fridge or so. But I would advise you make it the same day. And you can always make more bread. That's why I said I have mine in 2 loaves. I'm going to try to make maybe some I might save one. I'm not sure yet, but I may save some dough and make, you just want to help shape it because, eventually it's going to be a ball. And I know my time's almost up, so just shaping it into a ball. It's like a giant Play-Doh, So I said this is like the workout part, so kids will be more than happy to do this for you. If you want it, you don't have to do this in a loaf. You can do it in a bun. It's all up to you. I may try a bun as well as of the loaf that I normally make. It's really all up to you. And what I'm doing is, you can tell, taking this, and I'm like taking this and I'm folding it like under, like that. So I can form me a good circle. And then go around like that. Okay, so kneading phase is done. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this sit for 3 minutes on my cutting board. And you want to let it sit for 3 minutes because you want to let it rest, and you want to let the yeast and the bread and the dough activate and right. And what's happening right now is that it's going to help to rise the bread. So we're going to wait for 3 minutes. And after you wait for it to, you can put a cloth on top. You can put it in a bowl. A lot of times people say put a cloth on top because you don't want it to dry out. I really haven't had a problem with it drying out, sitting out for 3 minutes. But if you're scared, or say if you have pets that may jump up and mess with it or something, then you can put a cloth on top of it. Put it inside of a bowl. Just make sure you put a little tiny bit of flour on the bottom of the bowl. You don't want it to stick. But right now, you see, we're just letting it rest. And after it rests for 3 minutes, you want to start shaping it even more, and you want to add more flour onto it and onto the board, and begin to flatten it out a little. And you're going to want to fold it and shape it into a very perfect ball. Now, I know you're wondering, well, you already did it in a ball. But the point is that you really want to work the dough. The more that you work the dough, the more light and fluffy it's going to be. And it's going to be not like, for instance, if you would just mix this dough up and bake it, it probably would come out very hard. And it would not be as soft and fluffy on the inside. So there's a reason why we're working the dough. Now, there's a lot of different things that are going around on how to make fast bread. But let's just be honest. When it comes to making fresh bread from scratch, I don't care what recipe that you come across. If you want to make fresh bread, you're going to have to take some time. It takes time. Yeast has to have time to rise, and your bread needs to have time to rise. I know you're wondering right now, this is very small. It doesn't look like it's possible making 2 large loaves of bread, but it can. You have to give it its time. And right now, with us all being on lockdown, I feel like we can learn a little bit about patience. That's something that I really do not have. And I'm basically being forced to learn how to adapt in a situation that I really have no control over, especially with them now, hitting us with the curfew, like the 8 o'clock curfew type thing now in Maryland. So it's a lot, especially when you're a person that likes to go out and hang out and, interact and be out in nature and stuff. So it's a lot. So I've just been keeping myself occupied with the garden and, occupied with, homing in on my other skills that I may not have, actually practiced in a while. To be honest, I haven't baked a loaf of bread, I want to say, in probably 2 years. But I started noticing, okay, bread is scarce in the grocery store. There's all this stuff. There's a lot of stuff that we could just make, but we're so used to living in a time when everything is just overnight, quick, you know, like you literally can say, oh, I want freshly baked bread, run to a store and get it. But we're so accustomed to living in a time when we really don't have to put that much work to get stuff. So we're used to getting big payoff for little effort. So now it's kind of making us, you know, go back to the old ways in a way, because it's like, you know what, I can't find bread here, I can't find bread there. You know what? Let's just bake our own. And then you start to find out that a lot of the stuff that you, when you learn the skill to do it, it's actually way better than anything that you can ever purchase. So that is very important to know. So like I said, now that this is rested for about 3 minutes, we're now going to start shaping it. And I'm going to add a little bit of flour because I don't want it to stick. So just, you know, just a little bit of flour, guys, you know. Sprinkle this all over my cutting board. Put my dough on that cutting board, you see. And I'm just gonna like really start shaping it. And I'm gonna flatten it out a little. And then you're gonna fold it into a ball. Get it nice and fluffy. And it's just like beautiful. It's like the art of making bread. It's a very beautiful thing because look how great it looks now. Like, look at this. At first I had like a big sticky mess. Now look what we have. And it's very heavy too. It's going to be some very like dense filling bread. And I'm just using my same technique, guys, of like folding it in, like squinching it under. And fold it in. Almost like making it like almost like a mushroom cap, but you really don't want it to be that wide. And then I'm coming back in and just going around the sides. And you just want to give it a good shape. And I think that I love this shape that I'm giving it. Perfect shape that I believe for bread. This is like kind of what you're going to be wanting to go for. Something like this, nice and smooth, as you can see. Good. You see I have a little bit of cracks where I folded it in, but that's okay. I'll be on the bottom of my bread. And if you want it, you can roll it and just make sure that you really get it, but that's what I like to do. Okay, now the next step, once we shape it into a ball like we have, as you can see, the next step that we're going to do is we're going to put it back into the bowl and we're going to let it rise. Let it sit and we're going to let it rise for 1 hour. Now this is important. I know you're wondering, why an hour? Oh my goodness. But that's something that you have to do for the bread to come out. Now, if you want it to come out right, follow these instructions. That's why I said that this is something that is very rewarding. But it takes a little bit of time, but this is way faster than a lot of bread recipes that's out there. Because some bread recipes like start off with like telling you to let it sit for 3 hours. So we can do 1 hour, right? So I got back my same bowl. You know, it has flour and stuff in the inside. I'm just going to place this in my bowl. And since this is sitting for 1 hour, you do want to cover this because you don't want to let it dry out. You can cover it with plastic wrap. You can cover it with a dish towel. Let me see what I have right on hand. And what I'm going to do is, I have these really pretty placemats that I got, and I was like, oh, I love the color, but I have yet to put them in a house. I said I was going to do some type of crafts or something with these, potentially making pillowcases or handbags. Let me know if you guys want to see that, because you can make some really cute handbags from placemats. But I'm going to take this new placemat. I'm just going to place the placemat over top of my bowl. And I'm just going to let this sit. You don't want to sit it somewhere too warm, but you're going to want to let it sit, and you let that sit for 1 hour. And I will be back with part 2 of the making honey butter bread video. And thank you guys for tuning in. Hey y'all, welcome back to part 2 of making your bread. As you can see, it's doubled in size after it's sat for an hour. Now you're going to take it out. And you're just gonna mold it into a nice circle if yours came undone like mine did. Okay. Okay. And this will make 2. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to slice it right down in the middle. Try to make 2 even pieces. So now I got 2 pieces. Now I gotta get okay, it's up here. You can use butter. I'm gonna use baking spray. And I'm just gonna spray inside of my loaf pan. And I'm gonna take 1 piece. And I'm just gonna knead that out. Like you can see. Try to get it a nice little oval shape. And then you're just gonna roll it. You end up with something like this, and you just want to, you can see I rolled it up, and then I'm going to take this, place it into my pan with the roll side down in my little container. I'm going to take some butter that I left out. I'm going to add about a half a stick of butter. And right here I have some raw honey. And I'll say I'll add about a tablespoon of honey. Each have this. And we're just going to smash that together. And get it nice and mixed together. Like so. And I'm going to take this mixture and I'm going to take my bread and I'm just going to rub that all over it. And you want to get all around the sides. Get the front. And you should have something like that. And like I said, your oven should be preheated to 400 degrees. It's going to go in the oven for about 40 minutes. And I'm going to show you another way that you can do it. If you like artisan bread, and I'm just going to do my one technique, fold it under, almost like I said, a mushroom cap. And then you're going to form it into a circle. And you can take your knife and you're just going to make some slices in it. Like this. Just slice it. And then I'm going to take my same honey butter. And I'm going to spread that all around. And this is going to make like a artisan bundt, like a artisan type roll. Get that on there. I probably made too much honey butter, but you can have that for when it's done, when you slice it. And I'm making sure that I'm getting it into the creases. Okay. Right here. Got that buttered up. And I'm going to put that into a grease pan. If you have only a cookie sheet, put a cookie sheet. Don't make a difference. Sprayed it with my baking, what is it? My bacon non-stick spray. And I'm just going to place that in here. And then we're going to put both of these in the oven for 40 minutes. And then we'll see how wonderful they look when they're done. Hey y'all, welcome back to baking your own bread. I have just got the bread out the oven. What you need to do once you take it out the oven is you want to let it rest for at least about 5 to 10 minutes. It's going to be hard to do, believe me, but it'll cut way better if you let it rest. And I'm going to show you what we ended up with. Look at this. This is the loaf that I did. And look how nice and crispy and buttery that is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit more of the honey butter. And I'm just going to smooth that on top. And make it nice and buttery. As you guys can see, that looks amazing. And then wait till you see the artisan type that I made. And this is your artisan. You see what the slices that I made into the bread did? It made a really like decorative and crispy, crunchy layer. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one. As you can see, I'm running out of butter. That's why I said do a half of one. Because you want to baste it when it's about like, when it was in the oven, I basted it about, I want to say 25 minutes through. And I basted it with some more honey butter. Then I let it bake the rest of the way. And then when it came out, I let it rest. And then I'm basting it again. So this is what you end up with. And this is baking your own bread. As you guys can see. Baking your own bread during a time like this. This will definitely give you something to do. It'll definitely make you relieve a little bit of stress, because this is what you end up with after I say about, I want to say, but maybe about 2 hours. This is what you get. And you can watch a movie like I did in between when you let it sit for an hour. I watched a movie, paused it, came back, you know. So I was able to get other things done. And then you end up with this. And this is really good. You can eat it on its own. You can make sandwiches with it. Like, that's why I made a loaf. I can slice this like regular white bread. Use this for sandwich bread. This one is more of the artisan type bread. So you can use this cutting in chunks. You can put this and make croutons out of it. You can cut chunks of this and you can use it in soups, especially French onion soup, which is one of my favorites. I'll probably do a video on that. Let me know in the comments if you're interested in that, because French onion soup is a very delicate recipe. And I've been through a lot, and I've finally like figured out the best like recipe ever. This would be the best bread. Like, I would love to put this type on my French onion soup because it's extra crusty because of the slices that I made. And then this I would prefer to slice and maybe use for like just a regular sandwich, or to use this to make like a panini or something like that. So thank you guys for watching, and let me know in the comments how your bread turns out, and let me know if you guys are interested in seeing that French onion soup tutorial to go with that.